Our guest this hour is the Middle East analyst, Sigurd Neubauer. Thanks so much indeed for joining us there from Washington, D.C. I believe we have now re-established our link, having a few technical problems and communication problems here in London right now. Who are the fighters that the UAE has described as terrorists, but who the Yemeni government is saying are indeed its forces? Do we have any idea?
It's very important to understand that both the United Arab Emirates and the Saudis are not operating with conventional militaries as we understand them, but rather with militia fighters for hire. So under the Southern Transitional Council, there are various militias that are fighting on behalf of the UAE and have now taken on militias that were traditionally loyal to President Hadi and to the Republican Guard in Yemen. And what we have seen is that there's been a pushback now from the United States, because just yesterday, U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo hosted Prince Khalid bin Salman, who is the Deputy Minister of Defense of Saudi Arabia and the younger brother of MBS. And during that meeting, it was made clear that the United States supports the territorial integrity of Yemen, which is to say that it actively opposes any secessionist movement pushed by the Southern Transitional Council and its backers in Abu Dhabi.
But the reality is, I mean, just how much influence is the US itself actually having on what is happening in Yemen? I mean, it appears to me that we seem to have a pretty fragile Saudi-led coalition when you've got the president of Yemen saying to the Saudis, you need to rein in what your Emirati coalition partners are doing in supporting the southern secessionists.
That is exactly right, and I think what the American game plan here is straightforward, and that is that the United States has now interjected itself directly into the messy Yemen conflict, because we have seen just reporting and statements coming out from the Trump administration that the United States will be engaging directly with the Houthi leadership and its representatives who are based in Oman. And the idea through that diplomatic process is to negotiate some sort of a ceasefire between the Saudi Arabia and the Houthis, so that the Houthis stop launching cross-border attacks into Saudi Arabia. As far as the United Arab Emirates are concerned, what the step forward from the United States will be is to put pressure on Abu Dhabi so that it stops paying all these militia fighters under the Southern Transitional Council, so that once the payment for these fighters dry up, then these fighters will most likely pull out of Aden. So this is the game plan, if you will, from the American perspective at this moment.
You're talking there about the Houthis. That was, you know, the original war, if you like, that the Saudis and the Emiratis joined. All the focus right now is, of course, on Aden, not really on the Houthis themselves. And there's not much focus on what's actually happening in the rest of the country right now.
No, there isn't. And the reason is quite clear, and that is that the Saudis and Emiratis are divided on these issues, because from a Saudi perspective, what they had always wanted is to ensure that the Houthis are not a threat that can operate across the border and launch attacks, whether it's rocket attacks or drone attacks into Saudi Arabia. What the United Arab Emirates wants to do instead, of course, is to establish an independent southern state. And these two objectives do not align. And this is also why President Hadi, who has been in self-imposed exile in Saudi Arabia for so long, is expressing the outrage that he's doing at this moment.